The story of Jack the Ripper is one of the most infamous and enduring mysteries in history. In 1888, a shadowy figure prowled the streets of London's Whitechapel district, committing a series of brutal murders that shocked Victorian society. To this day, the identity of Jack the Ripper remains unknown, and the case has become a cornerstone of true crime lore. In this episode, we'll delve into the gruesome murders, the investigation, the suspects, and the theories that have kept this case alive for more than a century. This is the story of Jack the Ripper. To understand the story of Jack the Ripper, we must first understand the world he inhabited. London in 1888 was the largest city in the world, a bustling metropolis at the heart of the British Empire. But beneath the grandeur of Victorian society lay a stark contrast. In the East End, particularly in Whitechapel, poverty and crime were rampant. Narrow alleyways and overcrowded slums were home to thousands of struggling laborers, immigrants, and sex workers. The area was notorious for its high crime rate and unsanitary conditions. For many women, sex work was the only means of survival, and the streets of Whitechapel were both their workplace and their most dangerous refuge. It was in this grim setting that the Ripper's reign of terror unfolded, turning Whitechapel into a landscape of fear and horror. Jack the Ripper's known victims are often referred to as the canonical five, though some believe his actual count may have been higher. The first confirmed victim was Mary Ann Nichols, known as Polly. On August 31st, 1888, Polly's body was discovered in Buck's Row. Her throat had been slashed and she had suffered abdominal wounds. Just 8 days later, on September 8th, Annie Chapman was found in a backyard on Hanbury Street. Her injuries were even more horrific. Her throat was cut and her abdomen was mutilated. The violence escalated on September 30th in what became known as the double event. Two women, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes, were killed within hours of each other. Stride's injuries were less severe, leading some to believe the Ripper was interrupted. Eddowes, however, was found with extensive mutilations to her face and body in Mitre Square. The final confirmed victim, Mary Jane Kelly, was murdered on November 9th in her rented room. Her body was mutilated beyond recognition, marking the most gruesome crime in the Ripper's spree. These murders shocked Victorian society, not only for their brutality but for their apparent randomness. The Ripper seemed to strike without warning, disappearing into the foggy streets before anyone could catch him. The Metropolitan Police and City of London Police launched a massive investigation into the Ripper murders, but the challenges were immense. Forensic science was in its infancy, and detectives lacked the tools available to modern investigators. Officers combed the streets for witnesses, questioned suspects, and even set up patrols in Whitechapel's dark alleys. Hundreds of letters were sent to the police and newspapers, some claiming to be from the killer himself. One of the most infamous letters, dubbed the Dear Boss letter, introduced the name Jack the Ripper. It was followed by the Saucy Jackie postcard and the chilling From Hell letter, which was accompanied by a piece of a human kidney. While some believe these letters were genuine, others think they were hoaxes meant to taunt the police and incite public fear. Despite their efforts, the police were unable to apprehend the Ripper. The lack of concrete evidence and the chaotic nature of Whitechapel made the investigation a daunting task. As the murders continued, frustration mounted and public pressure grew. Over the years, hundreds of suspects have been proposed as Jack the Ripper, ranging from local residents to members of the British aristocracy. One of the most frequently mentioned suspects is Montague John Druitt, a barrister whose suicide shortly after the final murder led some to believe he was the killer. Another suspect, Aaron Kosminski, was a Polish immigrant with a history of mental illness. Modern DNA analysis of evidence linked to the case has suggested his involvement, though the results remain controversial. Walter Sickert, a famous painter, has also been implicated due to the dark themes in his artwork and supposed connections to the crime scenes. Perhaps the most sensational theory involves Prince Albert Victor, the grandson of Queen Victoria. Though there is little evidence to support this claim, it has fueled countless conspiracy theories. Each suspect has been scrutinized, but none have been definitively proven to be Jack the Ripper. The lack of solid evidence has allowed speculation to thrive, keeping the mystery alive. The Jack the Ripper case has become more than just a true crime story. It's a cultural phenomenon. It has inspired countless books, films, and television series, cementing the Ripper as a figure of dark fascination. Theories about his identity and motivations continue to spark debate. Was he a deranged loner driven by personal vendettas? A skilled surgeon with a macabre obsession? Or perhaps a scapegoat for a deeper conspiracy? Some believe the Ripper murders were part of a ritualistic killing spree, while others argue that the police mishandled the case and allowed the killer to slip away. Regardless of the theory, the lack of resolution has only deepened the allure of this infamous figure. The story of Jack the Ripper is a chilling reminder of humanity's darkest impulses and the fragility of justice. The streets of Whitechapel, once haunted by the Ripper's shadow, remain a symbol of the unanswered questions and lives lost to violence. More than a century later, the case continues to captivate, not only for its gruesome details, but for the mystery that surrounds it. Who was Jack the Ripper? And why did he choose to terrorize Whitechapel? Perhaps we'll never know the truth. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of history's most enduring mysteries. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations of true crime and historical intrigue.